habit of getting hijacked, and yeah, it's just been a crazy morning just leading up to this. So apologies to you and your viewers for the disruptions, and hopefully we can get through it.
Well, I apologize for you, and what you're going through. I find this interesting because I think that when there are people that have a pivotal message or something that's really going to shift the grid or the trajectory in a big way, these types of things can marshal all sorts of crazy energy to divert it, to sidetrack it. So that must mean this is super important, and that's always the perspective I take. So we're gonna break some capsules of dark energy open and set a lot of people free, and it's gonna be a great thing. So I'm excited you're here.
Do you remember the last call we had? I don't know if you remember, but we were just about to start, and there was all this construction that just started literally before we were due to start. It's things like that. Things like that always happen. So it's quite interesting, actually, when you become aware of it.
It is because you have a viewpoint that goes beyond so many other teachers in this area. Like you really have no sacred cows that you won't slay, and that's where I think there's a lot at stake whenever you come on and do a call. So I just let everyone know, like Tony is going to share stuff that will even like fly in the face of what a lot of people think is like traditional spiritual wisdom, like the chakras and everything else. And so when he comes on, it definitely is going to be an upgrade for everybody. So man, I'm excited you're here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Great.
how, how did you open up to this for people that are new to you, or they've heard of you, they've seen you, but they're not really sure how all this world opened up and how your words tend to create some big ripples throughout the grid? What happened? How did you get into this space?
Yeah, basically, it came from my own struggles. A few years ago, maybe like 10 years ago now, I was putting out some information that was, I guess you could call it disruptive in terms of like exposing certain things that were going on, particularly around military and, certain wars. I won't go into the depths
Yeah.
of all of that, but to cut a long story short, I made one video, and this video went viral overnight, had like 40,000 hits, but it upset a lot of people. And I woke up to an inbox, no lie, of full of death threats from a lot of angry military personnel. Um, and of course, that's, I didn't understand it at the time, but when someone has, really dark thoughts about you like that, like they hate you or they want you to die or something like that, that's actually an energetic attack that sticks on your energy field.
Mm.
So the weeks following that, I was feeling really drained. I couldn't really explain what happened. Had no energy. I knew it had to be related to that because that was the only thing that had happened. And I tried all different things, different detoxing, meditations, and nothing seemed to work. And then one lady reached out. She said, "Look, I part of what I do is I clear entity attachments. I clear dark energy. The chakra overlays as well, which we may get into." Um, and yeah, it just resonated. I thought, well, I've tried everything else. And anyway, we had a session, and she cleared a lot of stuff from me. And it was like night and day. I woke up in the morning, and this heavy energy that just seemed to be draining me had just gone. I felt like light as a cloud, and for the first time in my life, actually, my mind was quiet. We don't realize how many of our thoughts are not our own. Often our thoughts are coming from these inorganic entity attachments that loop negative thoughts around your head 24/7. And the
Mm.
reason to do that is because, it gets you feeling down and depressed, and they feed on that sort of negative, low vibrational energy. So it was really incredible that I could sit there with just my own thoughts and just a quiet mind for the first time. So there were a lot of transformations that happened after that particular session. Of course, the lady removed the chakra overlays as well, which is really just an energetic etheric implant, which these entities lock into and siphon off our energy. Um, and so from there, because it was so transformative, I thought, well, okay, I want to know how to do this myself. I really want to learn how to clear this stuff. Because a lot of people talk about all the light stuff, and that's good, that's great, but there's not many people out there that want to talk about the dark stuff, and within that, there's a lot of freedom that can be found. So I just spent the 6 months to a year just really training, learning how to do it. My own kind of psychic abilities started to increase. I started to become more clear visual, and I would spot more things, different etheric implants, different entities, different variations of, AI, etheric AI. And I started on working on myself and friends, and they started to feel bigger shifts. And then I went public with it, and I've been doing it for 10 years now. And yeah, it's really my passion now. And I call myself, I don't know, I guess you and a lot of your listeners are in the States, so I think you call it trash. In the UK, we call it rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that I'm kind of like a spiritual trash collector. I go in, I collect the trash and take it out again. And so, it's not sort of glamorous in terms of working with different light beings and stuff like that. It's really just going in, clearing what shouldn't be there for people, and getting out again, basically. So it's like a real spring clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, that leaves the person quite often, yeah, feeling more lighter, brighter, feeling more connected, and with a more quieter mind, which is really priceless. Actually, you can't put a price on being able to sit there and not having any intrusive thoughts. So and it's just compounded over the years. I'm finding more and more different interferences, different type of interferences. So my work's gone really deep, and to where it is now, where I work with several people every day. So
Yeah, it's amazing what we're discovering. I think as like we get to a layer, we realize more and more things exist. And I like what you said. You said inorganic negative energies, inorganic energies. And when you say inorganic, I think you're talking about things like AI, correct?
yeah, so basically, within the astral realm, which is the closest realm to us, basically, it's basically teeming with life. Now,
Mm.
unfortunately, there's certain life forms within the astral that need our energy to survive. They particularly like our low vibrational negative energy. This is why we
Hmm.
live in a place where we have constant wars, famines, and all that stuff, because these entities are feeding on all of that energy.
Yep.
And so within that astral realm, we also have AI. And so a lot of the kind of things that Elon Musk is bringing out now with like the neuronet, the neurolace, and all that kind of uh, technology, it's already there in the astral. So where we have a physical brain, you have an energetic brain, physical heart, energetic heart. So those implants are being put on us on the astral.
Oh, like so
And
there's a neural link perhaps on our astral
yes,
brain already there.
yes,
Wow. Wow.
chips,
Wow.
Neuralinks, different devices, different like metallic headbands. Some of these are corded into like black cubes and quantum computers. So yeah, like it's crazy. Everything that it's really like the Matrix movie in the astral. So yeah, whatever we're seeing playing out here now, it's kind of already there in the astral. So what they're trying to do is or there's certain entities that want to hijack our energy, hijack our thoughts, you know, direct our thoughts in a certain way. And so this is what these implants are doing. They're hijacking our energy field, and just making life more difficult for us, making it more challenging. And so what that does is it disrupts our natural frequency, our natural vibration, which is more in terms of and aligned with kind of love and happiness and all that kind of stuff. Um, so they're really doing a job on us. And then, of course, the more of that junk that you remove, going back to like the analogy of a trash clearer or a trash cleaner, the more of that etheric junk you remove, the better you feel. And so, yeah, it's a little bit like if you've got an untidy living room and you just feel bad, right? So when you clear it up and it's clean and it's fresh, you feel good. And it's the same thing applies with our energy.
I want to get into some of the signs of this because I know there's a lot of people listening in that have been sharing what's going on with them. The other thing that I've noticed as we got closer and closer to this interview, I've noticed things stirring up, kind of like just weird sort of feelings or panic or whatever. And I'm wondering if anyone else is kind of feeling like the fact that we've got you on, the fact that we're putting light on this as not part of our human, natural energy field, the things that are there are kind of getting stirred up. It's almost like turning on the light in the kitchen and, you got insects. They're like, oh my God, they're going to find us. Let me know,
Yeah.
is anyone feeling that right now? Are you feeling like just a little different, jittery or whatever? And Tony, tell me about that. As we talk about this and we're kind of shining the light on it, do these things kind of react or respond, or is it just like,
Yeah,
no big
I
deal?
could I could write a book about what happens before people even just think about
Yeah.
having a session, and the session
Yeah.
in place.
Well,
I've
what
got
happens? I mean, give me some ideas though, because I want to know, like, what have you seen happen?
well, the best story was, I mean, quite often, see, everyone has attachments, everyone has entities, everyone has interference. Some people have more than others,
Hmm.
and that can depend on how you live your life. For example, if you're an ex-cocaine addict or an ex-alcoholic, that's going to open you up to more entities and more interference. So you're by proxy going to have more going on energetically than someone that has lived a pretty clean life. Trauma can play into it. A lot of people that have suffered a lot of trauma, these entities will get in on those people, and so the more stuff that you have, that it's sort of the more heightened the anxiety is. So quite often someone will book
Hmm.
a session and then they'll email me with concerns like just before, saying that they're feeling quite anxious and all, and I'm like, yeah, it's because they don't want the session. It's because they know they're toast, right? They know they're toast, so they're going to try and fill you with fear and doubt and all of that kind of stuff. And they're like, I thought it was that. um that sometimes they were the worst. The funniest one was
Mhm.
the lady reached out to me. She booked a session. She's like, Tony, you're never going to guess what I had a dream last night where you showed up as the devil. I was like, so they were really trying to like put her off from like working with me. So yeah, like quite often leading up to the session, you can feel like a heightened anxiety because it's almost like they know that they're going, and so they're going to try and do everything to. And it's the same with what I was saying before with the interference on my. I mean, all like I can't remember the last time I had so many problems technological wise for today, and then so I always know that yeah, we're going to go into something deep
Gonna
when it
go.
starts to happen. So I always say you're over the target when things like that
Yep.
happen. That's when you know you're over the target. So
Yeah.
yeah, if anyone feels anything like that leading up, or even can be just listening to the interview, it's because they're like, oh, don't listen to him, and they're like hanging on for dear life, because
Yeah.
they
Don't
want.
listen to him. The video has, black on each side. It's, whatever. I mean, like, crazy stuff. Well, that may mean you're going to get something that you're not going to get anywhere else. And I know with Tony, that's kind of how you work. Do they know who you are? Do you feel like you've kind of been identified and maybe whatever this, intelligence is, uh, singles you out or knows that, okay, this guy, we want to try to create some havoc around so he can't make the big shifts for people?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not just me as well, because we all have our gifts and qualities, and we're all helping in different ways. But I guess the way I would describe myself is, I'm a bit of a frontliner. You know what I mean
Yeah.
by that? I'm like right spearheading, along with a few other people, and so by proxy, with that comes a lot more of interview. The thing is with me is because I've been clearing this for 10 years, I can clear it so easily when I feel it, affecting me. Sometimes they will try and get me through dreams in terms of like sleep paralysis and things like that. But even with things like that, I'm quite sadistic because if they hit me with like some sleep paralysis, then I know I'm going to be doing something groundbreaking in the next few days. And then, of course,
Mm,
the next few days follows, and I'll do like an interview like this, or I'll put
yeah.
a piece of information, it will go viral. And then I'll be like, that's why they attacked me the other night. So in a way, I've got kind of a warped view of this. If they're leaving me alone, then I'm more concerned. I'm like, okay, am I on the right path right now? So um,
Wow.
yeah, it does come with some some kind of issues like that.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of the Matrix movie because whenever Neo would figure, once he figured out how it works, like he could basically control the algorithm, and so it was like no big deal. They, have bullets flying at him and stuff, and he'd be blocking it and doing all these things. And you've kind of figured out, okay, they're doing this. That means whatever's going to come in is going to be enormous. So I'm going to give all my energy to that versus what they're putting out, and boom, something great happens. I love it. And that's, an interesting thing for all of us to begin to think about this kind of how Tony does, that like we actually have sovereign dominion over these things once we realize how powerful we are. But this gets to an area that I'm seeing a lot of, probably even more so since the last time we talked, a lot of health and wellness challenges showing up in people. How do some of these energies, these implants and interferences affect health and wellness, particularly like things you're seeing now versus when you were on like maybe 3-4 years ago?
Yeah, so basically, because our energy is so hijacked with all these different implants and synthetic and digital overlays, quite often, and I never make any promises over people's physical health because, sometimes it can be unrelated, but because these implants and overlays and entities are siphoning off so much of our energy, when you remove those things, you then have that energy is then accessible for your body to heal. So it's very common that I will work with someone I worked with someone the other day. She's lifelong pain in her neck. She said, Tony, it's completely gone. I've worked with people with fibromyalgia and things have cleared up. Like I say, not all the time, but once you take away that hijacking of your energy, it makes sense that because that is then available for you to access, that is used to heal your body. And there's a lot of benefits. And actually, I think a lot of these implants and tech is perhaps aging. I think it all ages us quick. I think all of this stuff ages us quicker because if you imagine whether we're consciously aware of it or not, when you're getting your energy drained like that, it's going to have a knock-on effect on how quick you age and diseases. The other thing that these entities do is they will drill down to a weakness. They're opportunities. So just say you have an old injury, then they'll get into that and implant that and amplify it. They're all about amplifying. So sometimes people come to me with a specific injury or problem, and I go in more locally. And it's the same with our subconscious wounds as well. If you have, let's just say you have an abandonment wound or a betrayal wound, what they do is they hook in on that wound, turn the volume up on it, and amplify it so it becomes like that constant. Let's just say you've got a not feeling good enough, that's constantly there. You can't do that, don't do that, you're going to fail, people won't like you, yada yada, and it becomes like a constant in our lives. And like I said before, you don't realize just how much mind chatter is not your own. It's actually so yeah, health wise, physical wise, mental wise, clearing this stuff, it has an all-round knock-on effect. The only thing I would say, just because I like to be transparent, because as with any deep healing or cleansing, there can be a purge, and that can be physical or emotional. So if you do get some emotions coming up after the session, then they're coming up for healing, and you may need to consider doing some kind of inner work. So that's the only thing that I would say in terms of like side effects. You can feel a bit tired for a week or two because we remove a lot within the hour. Although it's an hour, every single second something different's being removed. So the body needs to do a lot of integrating and processing, and that can make you feel a little bit more lethargic for a week or two as you go through that process. So yeah, physically wise, some really good results down the years.
Yeah, I want to hear more about those results. There's a lot of people that have written in. Kate said it feels like there's now no entry point for cords or bad energy. These are some of your clients. I'm calmer. I'm happier. I'm a more centered person since I had Tony work on me. Catherine Bryan's. It's interesting stuff. Do you find that money is an area that I know about, the banking system and sort of the whole, you know, grid on our kind of our financial world. Do you find like money is also another one of those entry points? There's a lot of folks writing in that just have been having a lot of bad money luck and they're not sure, is it me, is it something else? How have you seen money fit into this?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I can't profess to change people's financial situations around. I think, like you already touched on, they deliberately make it hard for people with the things that they do. But certainly, what these entities will play on, and perhaps there's implants around this, is on like maybe scarcity programs. If you're running, scarcity patterns, they can make that all about your everyday life, so to the point where you're obsessing over it all the time, and you can't really relax into doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So it removes a lot of the kind of mind chatter and stuff around that. um, a lot of scarcity issues can stem from, it can be like more inner child stuff, in terms of, perhaps you were lacking something in childhood, you didn't get enough hugs or whatever, you weren't nurtured, and so then you grow up with the kind of scarcity mindset. So that can also be another place to look, if you're having issues with that. But yeah, of course, I mean, we all wish there was some kind of like abundance button, and we could all press it. But yeah, but certainly in terms of like the mind looping and how they'll use that, to amplify fear and anxiety, it can definitely help with that kind of thing.
I got to ask, and Shelly brings a great question. How do we know? I don't want people to doubt every thought they have either today, or be fearful of everything around the corner, because that would give more power to this stuff. But how do we know whether it's our own thoughts? How do you see that versus something affecting our thoughts? Is there a tone that kind of our thoughts, our higher consciousness, our higher essence, our soul brings in versus something that's not ours?
Hmm. Well, I would say, I mean, quite often, if you're just sitting there and you're feeling okay, and then all of a sudden you're just coming across like all these thoughts. Oh, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to pay for this? And suddenly it's, starts looping, and that could be a sign of some kind of attachment, where you were doing fine, and then the next minute it just shifts into this kind of paranoia and stuff like that. Um, Generally, you want to just double check if you're having a constant, negative thought.
Mm.
Again, that could be an issue. But I mean, that's how they work. Unfortunately, that's how they get us to feel down about ourselves, and drop us out of that kind of, higher frequency, if you like, by looping these thoughts and feelings around. So it's very difficult always to tell. The best thing is obviously to have a clearing, and then you're left then with more of your own thoughts, and then it will become more apparent as to what is yours and what is not.
Okay. And I want to grab some folks here in a moment. We're going to get to some little kind of mini help sessions. You did some work on me years ago. The last time you were on, we had a private session. It was very interesting because, it was about an hour. And I remember watching you and you were moving your hands, and it was way deeper than I thought or expected. And the results of that I kind of shared. Me and my sister, we used to fight every time we see each other within like a few minutes. It was like this giant outburst. And it wasn't completely me or her, but you identified, I'm not sure you remember this or not, something as like an overlay or an interference pattern between us that was causing all of this
Mhm.
explosion every time. And once you remove that, like we didn't fight. It was the strangest thing. It completely changed the dynamic. And here I am, I do this show, and I just thought, well, that's just the way it is. But something else was going on. Have you seen anything else like that, or do you remember that situation?
Well, I do remember it. I can't remember the exact details of what I found back then, but
Yeah,
what I do know is, going back to how these entities, they want all that low frequency energy, and
yeah.
so what they want is they want conflict amongst people. They want conflict. They want arguments. They want people, yeah, just going at each.
Uncooperative fighting in the lower frequencies, the loose
Yeah,
energy, right?
yeah, the loosh. So what happens is when you remove those, because you're left with more of a peaceful and a quieter mind, and you're feeling more balanced, that kind of driving force, which they can be to cause chaos, is no longer there. So that's why the whole interaction is way more peaceful.
Mm.
And this can be a problem in relationships. Unfortunately, these entities, they're kind of against love. They don't really like love. So what they'll do is they'll get in on your wound, they'll get in on your partner's wound, then
Oh,
they'll amplify it, and then all of a sudden you're bickering and arguing, and so creating more loose. So it does go very deep in terms of their influences. They're trying to feed wherever they can, and so yeah, a lot of these conflicts that we have, they're not always fully resolved, but they can certainly be quite like they can be a lot calmer without all of this interference amplifying it all.
and it could obviously stop people from maybe having a loving relationship, maybe the marriage that's been working out for years all of a sudden has all this chaos. And I notice, I mean, this is kind of my thought, and I don't know if this is something you've tapped into. So I'm going to go a little bit controversial here, but I notice a lot of people that find spirituality, all of a sudden they get divorced and they think, oh, well, I'm evolving and I need to get rid of this spouse. And I'm like thinking, really? Is that really what it is? Because I wonder sometimes if that's necessary, or maybe something else is kind of wanting them to just be alone. I don't know. I always am suspect of that. And then I usually find that these people that do that, they don't really have a great outcome after that. They're just kind of like wayward and lost. So I don't know if you're seeing that or something like that, or maybe it's just my imagination.
Well, I think we have to be careful with what we're channeling, because sometimes
Yes.
what we're channeling is not what we think it is. There's a lot of tricksters out there that will tell you to go left when you should be going right. So that's definitely something that people can be aware of, and or need to be aware of.
No. Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Yeah, we don't want any tricksters. Tony, I want to ask you real quick if we can jump in and take some callers. I know they've got questions, and we're not, I don't think, gonna be able to do like full on work. Tony is extremely, extremely detailed. I know from his hour-long session, but if we take some callers, what could we do, or what could we help them identify, or at least be aware of?
um, well, it depends. I mean, of course, the sessions are very personal in terms of me going in into someone's energy field. So I would need to like see the person. But
Yeah.
any questions that have got around any of this stuff, I'll be happy to answer, and we can see what we can do in that sense.
Okay, so guys, if y'all have questions for Tony, we're gonna dive into that. Interesting, we had a comment coming in from Shelly. She said, "I remember that time period when you had Tony on, you did your session, and not too long after you shared something with us that you never showed before. It was the same like I had experienced during another session. Really powerful. So, yeah, I don't remember what I shared, but it definitely was a hugely opening and awakening situation. So, before we get to some callers, what are some signs that something is interfering, that there is some sort of energetic interference? Give me like maybe five or three that you see commonly with people that might give us a roadmap to discern, is this ours or is this not ours?
I think the main one is feeling constantly drained, no
Hmm.
matter what you do. That would probably be up there at the top. Yeah, second of all is obviously, having your feeling like your thoughts are out of control, and not really coming from you, like they're just like looping over like all the time. Um, they're like that, yeah, just feeling like heavy, dense energy as well around you can often be definitely a sign. Just feeling like a heaviness around.
What
Um,
about pipes breaking, house problems, car breakdowns, like just stuff that like it comes in these waves and it seems almost illogical that so many things would go wrong in like a short period of time.
yeah, yeah, me today, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, it can do like that because these entities, they can see your future timelines, right? And so there's a certain direction they don't want you to go in. And if they see you edging towards the direction that you're supposed to go in, then they throw all these spanners in the works. Your internet goes down, the construction starts.
Mm.
It's almost like, did you ever watch like the Truman Show where all those people come out the house at the same time? Um,
Yes.
and so, yeah, I mean, it's essentially the goal of these entities is either to make you feel bad about yourself, to waste your time, even little things like anything that's going to benefit you. So if you've got a new idea about a business or something, they'll often be the voice saying, no, no, you can't do that, yada yada yada, trying to put you, or oh, okay, I think I'm going to go for a walk out in nature because when we go out in nature, it recalibrates us energetically. And they'll be like, oh, well, it's too cold, go tomorrow, or just sometimes just really subtle things, um, to give them the edge. So they don't want anyone sort of stepping in their power, um, clearing themselves of this junk. They want everyone bogged down, weighed down by it. So they've got control over people's, thoughts and yeah. So it becomes a perpetual cycle, basically.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that. I mean, I've seen that in my own life. Like there'll be sometimes like a feeling of overwhelm. I'm like, oh, I need to go do something or take a walk. And it's like, no, I can't. I got to do this one thing. And what's wild, I mean, this happens to me, I'll end up spending like 15 minutes just doing nothing, wasting time because you maybe don't want to deal with something because you're feeling all this overwhelm when in that 15 minutes you could have gone for a walk.
Yeah.
And it's just like this chaotic sort of discombobulation energy. And yeah, like I'll say, doing a show like this, I get this a lot because they, every day they're like, hey, let's mess something up for this guy.
Well,
It's very interesting.
you're also at the forefront of putting information out to a wide audience. So from their point of view, you're a pivotal figure, and they're going to try and mess with you because they don't want certain people on your show, right? So
Yeah.
so yeah, you're going to get your own stuff thrown at you for sure.
Oh boy. Well, what I want to do, I want to take a couple questions from callers. And I think, Tony, we're going to be doing something maybe with the group. I'm not sure, at least to help them identify or just connect in. I don't know. We're able to do something with the group today.
The group.
Yeah, like a group process.
Okay. I mean, I could explain like a technique that they could use
Yeah,
that could help.
yeah, we'll do that. Just to let everyone know, probably in about, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes or so, we can do kind of like a little group process or something for everybody. But what I want to do is get to some questions. And what we're going to do too, if you are here, we'll take the first question. We're going to cut the live stream. If you're listening in on YouTube and you're not on the Zoom, you're going to want to join us every day at our uwealthrevolution.com/now page and catch the live calls and be able to raise your hand and talk to our guests because a lot of people are finding us on YouTube these days, which is super cool. And what I want to do, we'll take one caller and then we'll drop the live stream and then we'll go and stay on the Zoom with everybody here. And if you've got a question for Tony about anything at all, let's see where we can go with this. And I'm going to go to Annette. Annette, you've been wonderful and I appreciate all your insights. Annette, you're live with Tony Sayers and Darius. How can we help you? What questions do you have?
Hello, Darius. Hello, Tony.
Hey, Nick.
Hello.
I read Darius's testimonial about how you healed I guess it's his sister, the relationship.
The relationship, yeah, it's my sister, yeah.
I was just going to listen and learn about you today because I'm new to what you do, but when I heard about the relationship, I thought, why not? I'll just ask.
Do you have a son, a brother, a father, a relationship
My
that's like there's always this?
my son and daughter-in-law for the past 4 months have ignored my text messages and calls, and I don't understand because we didn't argue. I don't know what's
Oh,
wrong. I just want to know. I keep asking them, is everybody okay? And I live far away, but we've always had a long distance relationship, keeping in touch. So I have no clue. Any reading at all.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, first of all, sorry to hear that. I mean, you obviously feel probably quite abandoned by them. And I mean, in terms of like an actual I don't give like specific readings as such, but what I will say, if they've just, I mean, if nothing like caused a rift and there was no argument, and then all of a sudden they're just blanking you. I mean, effectively, everyone has some kind of interference going on, but it could well be that there's some agenda playing out, because look at the emotions that it's caused in you, look at the loosh that it's caused in you. You're upset and maybe angry and frustrated, and so that's caused a lot of what we were talking about before, that low vibrational energy. So it could be some kind of event that's been orchestrated from the astral in order to cause all of this upset for you. So, but for sure that they would have interference going on. It just really depends on how much in that sense. Some people, I mean, this is essentially, and I'm not saying this is your family members, but what we call like murderers and people that do things like that. They're basically fully possessed. They're not even really human. So this is what we're dealing with on this planet. We're dealing with sometimes just human vessels with an entity working through them. So, and I'm not saying that this is your family members. I'm just saying that some people have extreme attachments that can make them do some really nasty things. So um, for them to just blank you in that way, it just seems very odd. If it's just out of the blue, it does sound, that there's definitely something going on energetically there. But yeah,
is there
I'd have to look at it, look at them individually to see exactly what that would be.
is there anything she can do herself, or anything like self kind of clearing, or anything she can do to not aggravate it or make it worse? Like if she's feeling a lot of abandonment, obviously
Mm.
we don't
Well,
want to feed more of that loose energy to this either.
yeah, of course. I mean, there'll be like a basic what we'll do in the group thing that she could do that would help,
Okay.
maybe just clear, maybe settle her down a little bit.
Okay. Okay,
But
good.
yeah, it's a tough one, that, because yeah, it just happened out of the blue like that. So
Okay. Okay, Annette. So we're gonna do something here with the group that should help, but it sounds really odd. As long as they're safe and nothing's happened to them and they're okay, it sounds like one of those very odd things.
yeah,
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Annette. Okay, we're gonna go to another caller. We're gonna go to Linda. Let's see. Linda, what's going on today? Do you have a question for Tony about anything that we've been talking about, or about something going on in your life and what it could be?
Hi, Tony.
hi
Do
Linda.
you want to see a picture? Okay, there.
Sure.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Well, I don't see anything bad floating around behind you. I've watched videos where, like, you'd be like, "Oh my God, what was that?" You're good. No, just
No, I don't think I have any entities around me, thank God. I think mostly I have angels and a lot of fairies around me, but I don't think I
nice.
have the entities so much. I'm just wondering if a spouse who has died can still have like a lingering what do I want to say? Auric change or something to you?
You mean like influence your energy? You mean?
Yes, yes.
It really just depends. I mean, there are, some spirits stay earthbound for a while and can, sometimes people can feel that and tune into that. That can often be what's going on. But it really depends on, where they go after they pass over. So yeah, and that's a whole different that's a whole different show of what people can do there. So, but yeah, I mean, for sure, I guess, you know, sometimes certain souls or spirits, they sometimes find it difficult to leave, you know, especially if there's attachments here. So, yeah, it could be something that you're picking up on.
What are you picking up on? What's happening that has led you to ask?
Sometimes it just feels heavier than other times. And when I'm dealing with some of the people who are around me a lot, um, the people seem to pick up on some of his like garbage, so to speak. I don't know. I didn't know if that was
I would
his
say if it's
influence.
like a heavy energy, I would, you know, I wouldn't rule out some kind of attachment, because it shouldn't really be anything heavy is generally not the best thing. So yeah, I'm not saying it definitely is, but maybe something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
A corollary question to that, for Linda and also anyone else, Tony, do you also see those things in houses, you know, or in physical spaces where like maybe a room where the person was, or maybe just I mean, we can't even talk about different places on earth where things have happened, right? Battles and,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
lower vibration city centers and things like that, where they've fluorinated and chemtrailed populations, you
Yeah.
know, to the max. I mean, what about physical realms, spaces?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, in our the thing is with what they've done with all the Wi-Fi and everything. I mean, in one way, it's good because we wouldn't be able to have this conversation. But you know, energetically, frequency-wise, it's lowered the frequency of the entire planet, and so where the frequency is lower, that makes it more easy accessible for these lower inorganic
Mhm.
negative entities. So they're trying to get this realm in alignment with the frequency that they're at. And they do this through all the electromagnetics and stuff, which you
Oh,
do.
wow.
So you know,
Wow. But
everywhere.
don't they realize that will kill us?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they particularly care too much. Let's face it, they don't really
Is that
have.
why Bill Gates wants to lower the population and the
Yeah,
Georgia Guidestones
and all
used
that
to say?
stuff. Yeah, so yeah, houses and as you mentioned there, old burial sites. And I went to Chichen Itza. I live in Mexico. I went to Chichen Itza
Yeah.
once, and it's the big pyramid here. And they all, you know, back in the day, they used to throw like sacrifices into the cenotes, which are basically these sinkholes. And I was around there, and just the energy of this cenote was so heavy. And this, like, all
Mm.
that happened like hundreds and thousands of years ago. Like, I don't know when, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So they leave like these holographic imprints on the planet, like, you know, the more kind of trauma that's happened there. You mentioned like burial grounds and places of war. These places always attract, you know, negative entities, and you've got all these like abandoned. In a way, I find it fascinating. I'm quite sadistic in that sense. These old, you know, these old derelict like mental institutes. I think you have a lot of them in the States, don't you? Where
Hmm.
you know, these people walk around in cameras and they're just full of activity. And so where there's been a lot of trauma and suffering and illness, your hospitals is another one where there's a lot of sightings, a lot of paranormal activity. Um,
Yes.
yeah, there's definitely a correlation with these, but you can also just, you know, you can get these things anywhere. So
Yeah. I think the key is what Tony's talking about, and what I found with you is to know what is your true north, what is your true essence versus what's not. And then once you get that set point or that understanding, that baseline, now you now have an awareness. Okay, this isn't how I naturally am. This isn't how my relationship should be. This isn't how my money should be or my life should be. But oftentimes we don't know. So what we're going to do for everybody, we're going to do a little bit of a guided process with Tony. If you are listening in on YouTube, you can catch the replay. It's going to be at uwalsrevolution.com/Tony29, and join our